Isn't quick. Welcome to the Dream Nation Breakfast Club. I am your host, Josh Valentine, and I'm excited to be here with you all. For those of you who are new to the Dream Nation Breakfast Club, this is where we gather together every single Tuesday from 7 a.m. to about 9 a.m., depending on the day. Sometimes we go about an hour, sometimes we go up to 2 hours, but welcome. If this is your very first time tuning into the Breakfast Club and you're wondering what in the world were you invited to, for those of you who are not familiar with my work, I'm a life and business coach, and I actually have been hosting the Breakfast Club now for about 10 years. So it originally started as an in-person gathering where I'd gather together with my community every single day at a coffee shop. And then it began to grow to the point where we had to shift over to a food court back in those days. And eventually it just got so big where we transitioned online and we were able to reach a lot more people, thousands of people from all around the world. So if you are new, welcome. You're definitely going to get a lot of value here today. And every single week is something different. So for those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, feel free to gather some notepads, take some notes. We're going to be covering a lot of really great information today. We're going to be talking about the benefits of mentorship and coaching on your success journey. So to share a little bit about my backstory, I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. I actually have been, I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, and I come from very humble beginnings. I was one of those brothers that went off to college. I got recruited to play football at a military school, and I went to school to study international business and pursue a Coast Guard license to operate ships. And, I did like many of you probably did, went to school, got the good grades so you can get the good job. And I found myself in a space when I was about 22 years young where I was just tired of working for other people, building their dreams. And I essentially went all in on the entrepreneurship journey. And by the time I was 24 years young, I had retired from the workforce. I went all in as an entrepreneur. Over the years, I've built multi-million-dollar businesses. I've built communities of thousands of people all around the world. And have done some pretty amazing things. I am a father, and I have 3 young children. So I'm a father, a husband, have 3 young children. I'm a boy dad, so we homeschool our kids. And when we're not homeschooling them, we're world schooling them. Just got back from Africa. We went to Cape Town, South Africa, and Zimbabwe recently with our kids in our community, which is pretty amazing. But all in all, I'm really excited to be here with you all, because today we're doing something special. For the very first time, I'm actually live streaming across 3 different platforms. So we have those of you who want to engage with us live, you can do so. Hop over to dnbreakfastclub.com. You can actually engage with me live. And for those of you who want to watch the recording, you could catch it on Facebook. You can now catch it on Instagram and on YouTube. Now, if you've never jumped onto my podcast before, hop over to The Journey with Josh Valentine, and you can actually not only just get Breakfast Club sessions, but you can also find a lot of amazing interviews. So just in the past 2 weeks alone, we had a Super Bowl champion that we had on my show. I do in-person interviews with a lot of incredible people, and basically we cover their life journey as well as life lessons that came along the way. And I had a Super Bowl champion. We had a mindset strategist and coach and author who was after that. And then yesterday we were on a farm, and we got to shoot a holistic functional doctor and as well as a farmer, at the farm school here in Florida. So a lot of exciting things happening on the Journey podcast. And I'm just really, really appreciative of you guys spending your time with me here this Tuesday morning. Feel free to like, comment, share, tag, subscribe. All of it definitely helps support. If you can find someone who can benefit from this, feel free to tag them. And let's jump right into it, guys. I have a lot of value that I want to share with you all. And we're going to definitely get this thing on the road. So here we go. To get us kick started, we have a few shares before jumping into today's topic. And by the way, today's topic is going to be centered around the benefits of mentorship and coaching on your success journey. So we'll be having a lot of value. We're a note-taking community, so you guys are probably going to want to take some notes on the Breakfast Club. We're going to be sharing a lot of different value here, and I know you guys will be able to get a tremendous amount of value. So let's jump right into it, guys. The very first snippet that I have for you all is take time for yourself. Give yourself permission to take 30 minutes just for yourself today. Find a stress buster and do it. So whatever that is, I know for me, typically what I do, I walk about 3 miles a day. My wife and I, we're walkers. We love walking. And typically we average about, I think when we looked at the steps, probably like close to 12,000 steps every single day that we can see on our app. But walking is really good for a lot of different reasons, whether it's getting your serotonin levels up because of the sun. The sun produces not only vitamin D, but you also get a lot of serotonin benefits. And serotonin is a mood stabilizer. It's the neurotransmitter that's responsible for feelings of well-being, and really, really great daily practice for those of you who don't walk currently, and a lot of value that's stacked on top of that. But you may very well find some stress busters, like maybe you have a favorite show that you like to watch. Maybe there's certain things that you can do throughout the day to kind of unwind and get your mind off of the day. I know the first and last hour of the day, that's like my me time. And I definitely recommend for those of you who live very busy lives, maybe you're like myself and you have a family, you may have businesses and things like that, and you're just looking for a way to reduce that stress. Find some me time. It's just as simple as that. I speak on national television as well for an NBC network. And one of the things that I'm oftentimes talking about are different aspects of self-care. And one of the things one of the best things that you can implement when it comes to self-care is just really taking some time to do things that you genuinely love, things that make your heart sing. So for everybody, it's just a little bit different. I know for me, sometimes just sitting down with a cup of coffee, hanging out with our cat is definitely enough to kind of just set the tone for the day and also unwind. But whatever that looks like for you, make sure you're spending time for yourself. Sometimes we get so inundated with family life, and we get so caught up in serving, always having our or pouring our cup to fill other people and be there to sacrifice for other people. But sometimes we lose ourselves in the process, and we forget that at the end of the day, you can't fill from an empty cup. So if you're someone who, let's just say, you're constantly giving and pouring into other people and always sacrificing and serving, eventually you're going to get burnout. And it's important to just take that time to just reset yourself. Now, for me, Sundays also have been that one day out of the week that I just take time to unwind and not do anything. And I like to refer to it as our holy Sabbath. And for my family on Sundays, whether it's church or just hanging out, like taking the kids to the park, things like that, but have at least one day out of the week where you do absolutely nothing. I know for some of you who are high performers, you're probably like, there's no way I can take a full day off of work. But one thing that I can assure you is it actually helps with productivity. That R&R, that rest that you get on that one day out of the week, it actually helps you basically fill your cup so that you set the tone for the week and you're actually more productive as a result of that. Okay. Now, next up, we have ask yourself, are urgencies crowding out my renewal time? So we must be proactive in terms of just making the renewal time a top priority in your life. If it's not a top priority, the odds of you actually following through are going to be slim to none. My recommendation for those of you who operate by a calendar, sometimes what we have on our calendar are things that are work related. But when was the last time you actually put on your calendar time to just rest, time to just, enjoy leisure activity? So that's one of the things as well. You have to prioritize your life according to the 5 F's, as I oftentimes talk about here on the Breakfast Club. So for those of you who are familiar with my work, I'm a holistic life coach. So I typically cover the different aspects of your life. And the 5 F's are in this priority. They're faith, fitness, family, fortune, and fun. When it comes to your faith, that's everything spirituality. That comes to your purpose and all of that. When it comes to your fitness, that's mental, emotional, and physical fitness. When it comes to your family, that's the relationship category. So it could also be family and friends. When it comes to your fortune, it's the way you go about building your wealth. It's your legacy. And then fun is your quality of life, lifestyle, things that you do to just, get yourself some rest. So here's a good quote by Stephen Covey. This is the single most powerful investment we can ever make in life, an investment in ourselves. And very appropriate for today's segment being that, our session being that we're going to be covering the benefits of mentorship and coaching. So let's get ready to jump right into it, guys. We have one last share before we jump into it. And I see we have people tuning in all over the world from our community. So if you guys don't mind, drop a comment. Let us know where you are tuning in from. I see we have Florida, we have New York, we have Canada. Shout out to everybody tuning in from the West Coast as well. We actually do have people who hop on at 4 a.m. to catch us live. So shout out to those of you who are on the West Coast. And we have people on the other side of the pond as well. So shout out to you guys. We have the DMV in the house. We got Texas. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Happy to be here with you all. Now, here's another share. To get what you want, you must discover what's preventing you from taking action. Think of something you avoided doing until the last minute. Your taxes, for example. Isn't it true that you put it off simply to avoid the pain of the moment, only to experience even greater pain later on? But what happens on April 14th? I believe it's April 4th. I'm not sure if it's still the 14th, but right around that time, what happens around mid-April? Our procrastination disappears because we quickly change what we believe. We associate in our minds that this will bring us pain or pleasure. Suddenly, not taking action is much more painful than just doing it. How can you use this to change your life? In the future, instead of asking, how can I avoid this painful task? Ask, if I don't take action now, what will this ultimately cost me? Pain can be your friend if you use it effectively. So super, super important, right? And I see we have some more people dropping their comments. Shout out to everybody tuning in from the Caribbean, by the way. I see we got Jamaica in the house, Bahamas. Welcome, welcome, guys. So really great share. And I oftentimes talk a lot about pain and pleasure motivation here on the Breakfast Club. And it's interesting because when it comes to pain and pleasure motivation, oftentimes human beings would do far more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure. And there's a lot of things that we typically avoid, and really it's your survival mechanism, right? You have to think of it like this. How many of us genuinely, like, we love the idea of being wealthy, right? Many people oftentimes come to me and they're like, yeah, I want to be a millionaire. And there's the pleasure, the idea of living in your dream house, driving your dream car, the idea of doing all of these incredible things. But if it were really that effective, if the pleasure of the attainment of those very things were really that effective, why don't you have it? Right? Because it's easy to do, but it's easier not to do. Those daily disciplines, they're not very difficult. Usually success is just building a great wall one brick at a time. It's not like you have to overwhelm yourself with the entire thing. And it's just little baby steps. And for most people, they just can't wrap their minds around taking action. So what I've discovered over the years is that the fear of pain has been a far more effective motivator. I mean, for a lot of people, clients that I work with, for example, when I work with a client, oftentimes we'll set an outcome, right? So I always say there's 3 P's to success that you have to identify on any success journey. So the 3 P's are your picture. What is your vision? What is the vision that you have for yourself? What is the outcome that you're going for? You have to be very crystal clear, because clarity of intention equals power. The more crystal clear you are about something, the more likely you are to bring it into fruition. Secondly, you need the purpose. You need the why. The why is actually the most important part, because if the why is strong enough, the hows are irrelevant. You have to have that burning why. Anybody can figure out how to do something if the why is strong enough. And thirdly, you need to have the process, right? The process is the how, but as you can see, it's last, because once you have the picture and you have the purpose, typically you'll end up discovering the process. So what I find that for a lot of people, when it comes to their success journey, they'll have the picture, right? But they don't have that burning reason why. And oftentimes we have a very superficial why. I remember at the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey, I used to say things like, I want to retire from the workforce because, I want to retire from the workforce because I want my wife to be retired. I want to, let's just say we want to have a family and all these different things. And I remember peeling back the layer of the onion. And for those of you who really need a more compelling why, to really get you to take action, I would encourage you to dig deep. I oftentimes say dig up to 7 levels deep if you have to. And you'll end up getting to the core of what it is that you truly want and what is a burning desire. They say that why can be an acronym that means what hurts you. So sometimes it's not the flowery, it's not the noble, the most noble stuff that gets you to take action. Sometimes it's simply let's just say maybe you had an ex who did you dirty, and that ex did you dirty, and now you have the motivation to be your very best self. Now you have the motivation to get in shape. Now you have the motivation to run up your bag and do what you have to do to get to where you want to be financially, right? How many of us can relate to that? When someone pisses you on, you may have really felt some type of way about how your boss spoke to you. Maybe they disrespected you and they pissed you on to the point where now you have the motivation to push forward. And sometimes in life, the best motivators are honestly just the pain. And you have to leverage the pain because people will do far more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure. So that's my biggest recommendation, is find out what hurts you if you really want that compelling why. Okay. Now, whenever I coach people, I understand the leverage of pleasure and pain. So the pleasure, of course, is the attainment of the outcome. But the pain, what I do, and the reason why I have such a successful follow-through rate with clients that I work with is for the simple fact that if they do not follow through on whatever task I set for them. So typically I'll set up micro goals with clients that I work with. And these micro goals are things that they have to accomplish by the end of the week. And if they do not follow through on those micro goals, and these are things that are actually within their control. And if they don't follow through with those micro goals, what happens is I set a fine for not following through. Because what happens is, think about it like this. Let's say you're an aspiring author. I work with a lot of authors, people who are writing books or people who are launching podcasts. And maybe the process of writing the book is going to require you to write, let's just say 10 pages a day. Now it's easy to do, but it's easier not to do. So you're more than likely not going to follow through, first and foremost, if you don't have it in your schedule. So it's always important to have it in your schedule, because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You have to set your intention for the day. So whatever is a must for you, you have to put it on your calendar. Secondly, right, what I do is if they don't follow through on the micro goals, and I have some of my clients here on the Breakfast Club right now, you guys have worked with me, you already know how this works. What I do is if they don't follow through on, let's say, writing those 10 pages for the day, then there's a fine attached to it. So think about it. For most people, there's pain associated with losing money. How many of y'all have lost money and felt the pain of losing money? It is not a pleasant experience. And it's even worse when you lost money, but you had control over it. Now, losing money is one thing when you didn't have control over it, right? But when you lose money, even though you had control over it, it was something that you could actually do. That's a painful experience. So I attached the fine, and think about this. If you had to write 10 pages a day, or maybe your income producing activity, your IPA is reaching out to 10 prospects a day, making a certain amount of cold calls, maybe it's shooting that content. If you had a $300 fine for not following through, what is the likelihood that you would follow through? 1 to 10. Drop a comment, 1 out of 10. What is the likelihood that you'll follow through? on your most important task for the day. That may be getting on the treadmill for 30 minutes. If you had a $300 fine, if I was going to collect $300 from you at the end of today, if you didn't follow through, what are the odds that you follow through on a 1 to 10 scale? Drop a comment. Chances are you guys are probably seeing a bunch of 10s coming in the comments, right? Because of course you're going to follow through. The pain associated to having to pay that fine is so great. And that's why with people that I work with, it's so effective. It's just science when you think about it, right? You have the art of fulfillment, but you have the science of achievement. Achievement is a science. Fulfillment is an art, but achievement is a science. And there are certain things that you can do to really get yourself motivated. So that's what we're going to be talking about a lot today, is the benefits of mentorship, the benefits of coaching, because mentorship and coaching are actually not exactly the same thing. And I'm going to go into that as well. But we have a value-packed session for you guys lined up here today. And let's jump right into it. Okay. So the power of mentorship and coaching on your success journey. Okay. Now, there's a lot of different things that I can cover, but I want to first talk about my process and what that process has looked like for me. I remember coming across a quote years ago, and the quote was, if you empty your wallet on your mind will fill your wallet. You empty your wallet on your mind will fill your wallet. Now, always remember that the number one asset that you will ever have in this lifetime is you. You are your most portable asset as well. Think about it. An asset is something that can produce wealth for you, right? Whether it's cash flow, whether it's the appreciation of value, but essentially an asset is something that can produce wealth for you. So isn't it true that you're an asset if you can produce wealth for yourself? Absolutely. Your intellectual property, your skill set, your knowledge, your network, right? That's why oftentimes in the world of personal development, you'll hear that your network is your net worth. I had posted a post on Threads the other day talking about how in today's marketplace, your personal brand is also a part of your net worth. Why is that? Because isn't it true that your personal brand can create wealth for you? Your personal brand can create wealth for you. So my personal brand is what built my coaching practice, because people have seen the results over the years. I've built my personal brand, and it creates all kinds of opportunities. And your personal brand, your skills, your knowledge, your network, these are all portable assets. You take you everywhere you go. In the words of Jay-Z, put me anywhere on God's green earth, I'll triple my worth. That's the idea. No matter where you go, you always have that portable asset. I had a client that I was working with yesterday who I'm helping her launch her podcast. And she mentioned her reasons for launching the podcast. And for her, it was important to build her brand because she wanted to ensure that no matter where she lived around the world, she'd be able to provide for herself and her family. That's what it's about. It's having that portable asset. So you have to invest in you. And during my journey, you know, it's interesting. I've invested 6 figures in my personal development over the years, a lot of money, well over $100,000. And one of the things that I can tell you is that it's been the greatest investment of my life. For those of you who are just starting out in your journey, and maybe you're young and you're just starting out, some of you are so caught up on investing in a house. Listen, first and foremost, just because you invest in a house doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a return on that investment. You have to be very cognizant of the type of real estate that you're buying, the location, the timing, all of that different stuff. The interest rates, there's so many things that you have to take into account. So think of it like this. Let's say you want to invest in a traditional investment property. And let's say it's a residential investment property, and maybe you invest $250,000 on that investment property. The average investment property in America today, let's just be conservative here and say in a perfect world, it's generating $500 a month in passive residual income. It's coming in every single month. So you probably put your down payment. Maybe your down payment is $30,000. Maybe you got a 5% down payment. but let's just go for simplicity's sake, $30,000 on a down payment for a $250,000 house, and now it's generating you $500 every single month. And think about this: you technically don't own it; the bank owns it until you pay off the bank, right? And then after that, you better keep up with them property taxes, because if you don't, you're not going to have a house. So the government, in a sense, also really owns like the land in America, because if you don't pay your property tax, you can have your property seized. Now, I say all that to say, right, you have a lot of people, and I 100%, my wife and I are huge proponents for real estate investing. Like, there's nothing that beats tangible assets. Real estate has produced more first generation millionaires than any other asset class in the world. So it's 100% a really good thing to invest in real estate long term. But the reason why I bring that up is because what's more valuable is having a real estate investment. If you could take $30,000 and put it into a home, right? But what would $30,000 in your own personal brand and your own personal skill sets, what would that produce? Is there a possibility that you investing $30,000 back into yourself, is there a possibility that that's actually going to produce far more wealth than $500 a month? Some of you are like, well, you have the appreciation of the house. Okay, well, let's say it goes from $250,000 to $500,000. Is it possible that your investment in yourself can produce far more than $500,000 in your lifetime? Absolutely. Absolutely. You see, when I was a young man at 20 years old, I wasn't even making $25,000 for the year. Today, I charge $25,000 for an hour of my time. If I do a keynote speech for a Fortune 500 company, I'm charging $25,000 for a 1-hour speech. But at 20 years old, I was literally not even making $25,000 for the year. So what's the difference? The difference is, at 20 years old, I hadn't invested anything in myself yet. And here we are, years and years later, there's been a lot of money invested. You see, when I get the question, well, why is it worth 25 grand? Because you can't look at it as 1 hour of my time. You have to look at it as all of the books, all of the seminars invested in over the years, all of the masterminds, all of the coaches, all of these different things have led to the value in the marketplace of that rate. So hopefully that's making sense, guys. It's you essentially investing in yourself to the point where eventually you get to a place where you set your price. And the power of investing in yourself is this: when it comes to your own personal skills, when you invest in your own personal skills, you get to set the rate. There's no company telling you, well, oh, you can only charge this per hour. When you're getting paid for your mind, for your expertise, for your skills, you get to set your price. So that's why investing in your coaching and your mentorship and your knowledge, your skills, all of these different things are essential, because you'll eventually get to a place where you can charge whatever it is that you want. Okay, so in this episode, we're going to break down the key benefits of mentorship and coaching, why you need them, and how to choose the right mentors to fast track your success. Okay, so to get us kickstarted, I want to go over why mentorship and coaching matters in the first place. Okay, and again, take notes. A wise mentor of mine would oftentimes say that the weakest ink is stronger than the strongest memory. If you do not take notes, chances are you're going to forget 90% of what's shared here on the Breakfast Club. So take notes as if you're going to have to teach this to someone. Okay, so first and foremost, the shortcut to success. Because what mentorship and coaching does is it compresses timeframes. So what probably took your mentor, let's just say 20 years to accomplish, you can compress into, let's just say, 5 years, because they had to go through a series of trial and error. Maybe they didn't have the mentorship. Maybe they just did it the hard way and went through trial and error, but you get to get that specialized knowledge. For those of you who've read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, there's an entire chapter that's on seeking specialized knowledge. If you look at a lot of people who build wealth, the difference between the big players and the small players, especially as it pertains to entrepreneurship, it really comes down to competence. It comes down to skills, to knowledge, to experience. So you have to sort of do your best to compress timeframes. I didn't want to wait 20 years. I remember when I first started looking up different business models, and I was looking up everything from franchising to investing to real estate, and all of those different vehicles for success were viable options. The only thing is those vehicles were more like a journey and they were like a marathon journey. And I was looking for the sprint. I didn't want to wait 10 to 20 years to be able to retire from the workforce. I was spending about 70% of my life working on the water as a merchant marine captain. And it's just, there was no way I'd ever be able to have a family working as much as I was working. And to make matters worse, my wife and I were in the same industry. Remember, we met in college. So we were in the same industry and we wanted to settle down and have a family. So I needed a 2 to 5 year plan. So what did I do? I seek mentorship. I had seeked people who already had what it is that I wanted. And I just modeled their behavior. I modeled what it was that they did. And in the world of personal development, there's a concept referred to as modeling. So you find somebody who basically has what you want, whether that's success in a specific business model, it may be family success, because success is holistic. Success, you can't just really look at success from the standpoint of achievement. Success, the best measure of success is achievement with fulfillment. It's not just the achievement. You have to look at it from the lens of, okay, what do I need to achieve, but how can I feel fulfilled? One is a science, the other is an art. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So the shortcut to success. Mentors and coaches help you avoid common mistakes and cut down the time it takes to reach your goals. So when it comes to modeling, you're going to find out, okay, well, what are my mentors doing differently than I'm doing? You may end up discovering that, okay, well, they're investing in themselves. Like when I got into coaching, for example, I wanted to have success with coaching. And it's funny, I was a bit stubborn when I first became a life coach. I was only 25 years old, by the way. And for the first several years, I wasn't really making much money from it. I do a little seminar here and there, but I didn't really know how to land clients. I didn't even know people who were coaches. So it wasn't until I had found people who had been coaching for decades and essentially learned what it is that they do. And once I learned those few things, everything changed instantly. Like within month 1, I was profitable. Within month 1, like really, really profitable. I just didn't have the how-tos. I had the why. I had a deeper purpose behind it. I had a vision, but I didn't have the proper how-tos. And some of you may have the right, let's just say, combination, right? You may have the how-tos, but you don't have the right sequence. It's like if you have a combination lock and you have all the correct numbers, but you don't have the right sequence of those numbers. What happens is you will not unlock that lock. And it's the same when it comes to success. You may have the how-tos, but you don't have the right sequence, and that's why you do not unlock your potential. So it is essential to find people who have accomplished exactly what it is that you want, whether that's a podcast, whether that's speaking. Like I've invested in mastermind programs just to learn how to be a keynote speaker and actually be able to charge what it is that I charge, how to position myself in the marketplace. I remember even as a speaker, I invested in Toastmasters International. For about a decade, I spoke for Toastmasters International, which is a speaking organization in 2 different countries. I was the part of the #1 chapter in both of those countries. And I would speak. I'd deliver dozens and dozens of speeches before I finally became a public speaker. And when at that point, now I was speaking in arenas and stadiums around the world. Dallas Cowboys Stadium in front of 22,000 people, Miami Heat's arena, all of these different stadiums and arenas. And today I'm flying all over the place as a public speaker. But it didn't just happen overnight. what happened was I spent all of that time refining my skills, years and years of not even being paid, right? But if I knew back then what I know today, I would have invested in the specialized knowledge a lot sooner. I would not have tried to just do it myself. Okay. I'm actually really excited because this week I'm going to, for the very first time, I'm going to be launching a masterclass. And this masterclass, I'm going to be offering it to our Breakfast Club community first, before it goes out to the world. And I'm really excited. We're still working on the back end on putting it all together, but it's going to be released this week. And this masterclass is going to be how you can essentially build out your digital blueprint, right? Your personal brand, and be able to be paid for your mind, be able to be paid as a coach, as a consultant, as a speaker, whether it's podcasting, all of that. I'm going to go through the exact step-by-step process on how I got to this point, you know, where I charge what it is that I charge as one of the highest paid coaches on the planet. I'm going to go over what that looked like for me. The three things that really made the biggest difference in terms of being able to monetize. Once I learned those three things, I was essentially able to start making money right away as a coach. So for those of you, maybe you've had aspirations to be a life coach, business coach, or even get paid for your expertise. Some of you guys have a specific skill set or expertise, and this masterclass is going to show you guys how you can monetize it. And this is for the person that is super busy already. So if you already have other businesses, other jobs, think about it. You can still work those things. You can still do those things at a very high level, but wouldn't you want to also be compensated for your knowledge, for your expertise? And I'm going to be showing you guys how you can pretty much step by step learn how to build out your entire ecosystem. And this has been, 15 plus years in the making, a lot of knowledge, a lot of time, and it'll help you compress that time frame as well. So if you would like, it's going to be a free masterclass for you guys, by the way. So I'm excited to release it. I've never put out anything like this over the years. And this is a big reason why we're streaming across all platforms, because we're going to be launching this in a major way. I know it's going to add a lot of value. Many of you know I'm in the travel and lifestyle industry as well. So I have other things going on that, you know, it keeps me super busy. My wife has multiple businesses as well. We're busy between that and homeschooling and all of that, leading our community. But at the same time, there's nothing like building your own personal brand. And your personal brand will last for an entire lifetime. You could always be compensated for your mind, your expertise, your knowledge, all of those different things. And it's one of the best things that you could ever invest in. So if you want to just learn that, we don't typically cover it here on the Breakfast Club, but if you want that specialized information, it's going to be a masterclass on, you know, step-by-step exactly how to do that. So DM me the word coach. And I'll be sending you over the free masterclass as soon as it's launched. Okay, so for those of you who DM me, it can be Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, however, but message me in my inbox, send me a private message, and just write the word coach, and I'll definitely send it off to you. Okay, and also as we get ready to kick off into quarter two is literally next week. Where has the time gone? I feel like we just started 2025, and here we are going into quarter two. The time is flying. And what I did was I offered a certain amount of complimentary coaching sessions. Okay, so if you want access to a complimentary coaching session, I can send you my Calendly link. You may be able to see it in the description. If you don't see it in the description, just DM me the word session and I'll send you over my Calendly link for those of you who want to just get a reset as we get ready to kick off quarter two. Okay, I'd be more than happy. I've done hundreds of complimentary coaching sessions for our amazing community over the years. And this is my way of thanking you guys because it's been such an honor to be able to serve this community over the years. And there's nothing like one-on-one coaching. You know, it's one thing to just kind of play a fly on the wall and learn these concepts and everything like that. But it's another thing when you have someone there to kind of give you some guidance on how to get from point A to point B. Okay, so let's jump right back into it. Now, why mentorship and coaching matters. Secondly, we have perspective and clarity. Perspective and clarity. They see what you can't see and help you identify blind spots. Okay, so this is interesting. It's funny that we mentioned this because I just launched a podcast episode, and my season 1 of the Journey podcast, there were a lot of mistakes that we made. Like, I mean, could you imagine getting someone who's highly credible and you do a 2-hour interview to then find out the audio wasn't connected the entire time? Could you imagine that? Like, you reach out to someone you admire, someone who you respect, someone who's super busy. You have them sit down with you for 2 hours to then find out that the audio wasn't working or the camera wasn't working. Talk about pain, right? So things like that, things that are like very, very basic. Even for example, when it came to the title of, I recently had an NFL player on the show, and literally the title was off, and I didn't double check the title before, and sometimes it's just a minor spelling, right? And it's little things like that, little intricate details. And that's the thing, is sometimes the mentorship is the wisdom, the deep wisdom, where someone literally can say, hey, be mindful for this, watch out for this. That's why, like, when I certify coaches, so I have a life coaching certification program. And when I certify coaches, you know, it's interesting. I got certified under Tony Robbins, but I didn't work directly with Tony Robbins, right? And the thing about one-on-one is that I can tell people, hey, look out for this. This is how you respond to this. This is how you navigate through this. It's very specialized knowledge. It's deep wisdom. Okay, so there are going to be things that your mentor, your coach can see that are blind spots for you, and you won't be able to see with your limited perspective. Okay, so that's one of the most important aspects of mentorship and coaching. Next, we have accountability. So this is probably the most important part. Accountability is just different, right? Mentors and coaches push you to follow through even when motivation drops. So when you have zero motivation, that accountability, like, think about it like this. The world's greatest performers in the world, they all have coaches. Why is that? Why do they have coaches? If you look at any Olympian around the world, even Fortune 500 executives, oftentimes you'll find a coach. Every high performer in the world has a coach. Why is that? Because of the accountability. It's easy to do, but it's easier not to do. If you're that boxer that has to get up at 5 a.m. in the morning every single day, think about it. You're going to be far more likely to get up and go the extra mile if you have coaching. That's the way it works. So accountability, having someone to report to. It's like the Breakfast Club. I've been doing the Breakfast Club now for about a decade. And the crazy thing about it is that initially I would get up Monday through Saturday. I used to do the Breakfast Club. It wasn't just on Tuesdays. It was Monday through Saturday, and it was in person. I had to drive out to meet my community of people. I was living in the Bahamas at the time. Many of you probably, it's funny, I had someone mention the other day, like, oh, I remember that guy, you know, back from the mall days. And he probably was walking through the mall in the Bahamas and saw a packed out food court of people who were sitting in on the Breakfast Club. That's how we started, very humble beginnings. And the amazing thing about that is that the reason why I was able to follow through is because of the accountability. I couldn't not show up. There were people who were looking for mentorship before they went off to work, because that was the idea of the Breakfast Club, to provide mentorship to my community before they went off to their 9 to 5, right? And we do this Monday through Saturday, and there was just a higher level of accountability. So every single Tuesday, go on my Facebook, and if you go on my Facebook, you can probably trace back, like, since the pandemic, I could probably count with one hand the amount of Breakfast Club sessions that were missed. This is every Tuesday, over an hour of speaking every single Tuesday without fail, right? And if I miss the Breakfast Club, typically there's some deeper reason why. It might be me traveling. I remember one time I was in Peru, and I was like out in the Sacred Valley in the mountains, and I jumped on even for like 5 minutes just to say hi, right? Because I've been so accustomed to serving this community, but it's the accountability. That's the reason why I followed through. And if it wasn't for the accountability, there'd be no way. So think about it. I can record this, but it's different when it's live and there are people who are looking forward every single Tuesday to hopping on live on their way to work. This is a part of their weekly routine. So the accountability is super important. For those of you who struggle with motivation, ask yourself, do you have accountability? Think about it. It's like for those who work with a personal trainer, why are personal trainers so effective? Because you have that accountability. If it were just on your own personal willpower, you probably would not show up to the gym every single day or push or go that extra mile. Next, we have expanded networks. A lot of people, when they think of mentorship, when they think of coaching, they're not thinking about this. And remember, your network is your net worth. I want you to think about this. What if you had to put a dollar amount on what your network is worth? Like if you had to quantify it like a traditional asset and you had to put a dollar amount, first and foremost, what would be the dollar amount for your brand? If your brand was worth anything, what's the first number that comes to mind on what your brand is worth? Secondly, what number comes to mind on what your network is worth? What's the value of that Rolodex? So many people are so caught up in buying a Rolex. What's the value of your Rolodex? Because the Rolodex will open up all kinds of opportunity for you. Everything that I've built has come from relationships. Even when I launched my company, Dream Nation Media, my first round of investment came from relationships from my buddies back in college and people that I've nurtured this relationship with over the years. My very first investors were some of my closest friends. So your network is your net worth. You always have to take that into account. And what the right mentorship does is it expands your networks. Mentors often open doors to opportunities and valuable key relationships. The best opportunities in the world, by the way, they're not going to come from a piece of paper. They're going to come from that relationship. The best opportunities in the world come from people that you know. So that's the power of relationships. Okay, it's also expanded networks. When it comes to mentors, you're expanding your network. When you join a mastermind community, I have people who join our inner circle. Every single month, there are people who will join just to get access to community, just to get access to an expanded network. Okay, so remember, when it comes to coaching, every great athlete, every great entrepreneur, all had coaches. Even the most talented people need guidance and correction. Okay, if you guys are getting some value so far, drop a V in the comments for me for value. If you're getting value so far, we're about to jump into the next segment, which is the difference between mentorship and coaching. Thank you. Appreciate the V's coming in. Appreciate the love. All right. The difference between mentorship and coaching. First and foremost, mentorship is often more informal. A mentor shares wisdom and life experience over time. So a mentor could very well, let's just say, be your granddad. Maybe your granddad has gone through a lot of life when it comes to family life, when it comes to business or whatever. A mentor can be someone in your industry that has been there and done that. So that's more of a mentor. You can, reach out to them. You can gain wisdom from them. When it comes to mentors in business, I just want to emphasize this. When it comes to mentors in business, keep in mind that mentorship is not given. Mentorship is earned. Don't just go looking to go to a successful person and expect for them to willingly give you mentorship. Remember, people who are highly successful, they can charge whatever it is that they want for their expertise. Today, for example, if you want to hire Richard Branson, the billionaire founder of the Virgin Group, Richard Branson, you're not even going to be able to get him on a 1-hour keynote speech for $100,000. $100,000 is not even enough to get, he turns down $100,000 keynote speeches all the time. It's not worth it for him. He's a billionaire. So it's $100,000 for him. It's a waste of his time. So a lot of highly successful people are not just willingly going to give you their time. Time is money. Okay, so there are going to be many scenarios where your mentorship, it has to be earned. It has to be earned. And one of my recommendations is, if you're looking to pursue mentorship from someone, you can try, perhaps buying them lunch. It's not always going to work because it still may not be worth it for them, but that can be an approach if you're highly committed, right? I've had people, offer all kinds of stuff, but see how you can add value. See how you can add value to that mentor if you want to, let's just say, pick their brain on something. Okay, definitely doesn't hurt to ask. You have to obviously ask, because closed mouths don't get fed, and the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Even for me, like, there are many times where I'm reaching out to really influential people to jump on my podcast, and I have to be relentless. I have to be bold, because fortune favors the bold. And there are going to be times where you have to just reach out and be a little vulnerable, wear your heart on your sleeve, and also risk possibly being rejected. Okay, but do your best to earn your mentorship. Prove yourself. Show that you're an up and coming entrepreneur, or you're an up and coming business person, or whatever in your profession. And a lot of the times, keep in mind that people who are very successful, we love pouring into other people. So highly successful people, is not that we don't want to pour into other people. It's just we don't have as much time. As much as we'd love to sit there, many times I'm at these speaking events, and I'll have someone who's there trying to pick my brain, and there's like a long line of people waiting to take a picture. And as much as I'd love to be there for 5 minutes answering their questions, it's like time is of the essence. So that's why it is important to look at how you can add value to a mentor. Okay, so coaching is a little different now. Coaching is more structured, and it's focused on specific outcomes. Okay, so with accountability and measurable goals, both serve unique purposes and can complement each other. Okay, but coaching is more specific. A coach is going to help you get from where you want to be, right? It's going to take you from where you are to where you want to be. In fact, the word coach comes from the coaches that were pulled by horse and buggy. A coach is actually Oxford slang. So in the 1800s, the word coach came to be because at Oxford University, the word coach was used as a slang word for their professors, because the professors represented someone who helped the students get from where they were to where they want to be. And if I could even go back to the original origins, I believe it was a Hungarian town, if I'm not mistaken, but the town, the very word of the town, it was pronounced very similar to coach. And this town specialized in crafting these unique coaches, right? So the town was known for constructing these coaches that were pooled all throughout Europe. Okay, so that's where the word coach originally comes from. And so it started out in the universities, but then from the universities, it went to sports. And then in recent decades, it ended up going from sports to actually being implemented in corporate America, being implemented today for pretty much everything. People are being coached on everything. So what a time to be alive. You can literally coach people on just about anything. There are people who coach people on how to run an Excel spreadsheet. There are people who coach people on, let's just say, learning how to read Braille or sign language. So it's amazing today how people really can be compensated for whatever their knowledge is. And you get to set the price, which is pretty amazing. And I remember recently I was listening to Warren Buffett talk about that the greatest investment that you're going to make in today's day and age is not going to be a specific asset class. It's not going to be a specific stock or company or anything like that. It's going to be in yourself, in your skills. Because as inflation rises and the value of the dollar sort of depreciates, what ends up happening is, your income, your salary, your wage, your hourly wage may not necessarily go up in proportion to the economy and the value of the dollar, right? But when you have a unique, valuable skill set, you get to set the price. You get to set the price. I see now you have a lot of people getting back into hard skills like plumbing, being an electrician, construction, because a lot of people don't want to do those jobs, right? Everybody wants to make money online, but these skill sets are now paying out a lot more for the simple fact that there aren't a lot of people who are going in those professions. So it is super valuable to be able to learn a skill set and then at some point in time be paid for your mind, be paid for your expertise. And that's what I love about just being in the thought leader space, being in the space where you get to teach people your specific skill set or knowledge or expertise. I mean, you can take you wherever you go. You can work right from your laptop, wherever you are, and be able to mentor people and coach people. And for me, I've always loved businesses that you can pretty much take wherever, right? You don't have to be fixed to a specific location. So really, really great career path for sure. Next up, we have the hidden benefits. Okay, so a lot of people don't actually know the hidden benefits of mentorship and coaching. First and foremost, we have increased confidence. So you have someone who believes in you and sees your potential. So think about that. If you have someone who sees something in you that you don't even see in yourself, what does that do to your self-esteem? What does that do to your confidence? It goes through the roof. And I've had the great privilege of being able to mentor tens of thousands of people over the years. And one thing that I can tell you is that as a leader, one of the most valuable things that you could ever implement in your leadership is being able to see the very best in someone, being able to see someone's greatness, their hidden potential. And when that level of belief transfers over to the person you're leading, they can feel it. They feel like they have to live up to that. It sort of reinforces their identity as someone that has greatness within them. There's some people out there, honestly, that desperately just need someone to believe in them. There are so many people out there that genuinely, they've never had someone actually believe in them. And you can be that person. You can be that coach. You can be that mentor that genuinely sees the greatness in someone. How many of us, like at our lowest points in life, just needed someone to believe in us? Like when you were at your lowest, when you were feeling down and out, how valuable would it have been to have someone there who genuinely believes in you and validates you and your self-worth and all that? And yes, self-worth has to come within. But one thing that I can assure you is when you have someone that reinforces your value, I mean, come on, you know, it's so reassuring to know that, you know what, there are people out there that genuinely believe in me, and I have to pull myself up by the bootstraps. There are times, even through entrepreneurship, I'm telling you guys, like there are many times where it gets tough. A lot of the times people glorify entrepreneurship and don't realize that it's a roller coaster. You're going to have up seasons, you're going to have down seasons. Oftentimes when people glorify entrepreneurship, they're like, oh, they're seeing the lifestyle, they're seeing maybe the fancy things and all of the things that they're able to do in their lives, but they don't realize that the lows sometimes are really, really low. They're really, really low. And it's important, like, to have always a tribe of people, a tribe of mentors around you that can validate your value, that can say, man, like, you're going to get through this. We believe in you. Even my family, oftentimes my family, my community, it's like, I know that there are people out there that genuinely believe in me. And they're like, you know, you got to keep pushing forward. There are a lot of people that are counting on you. Right. And there are going to be moments in our life where we have to sacrifice and we have to take up our cross and sacrifice for other people. And that's what true greatness is about. Greatness is service to the many. Service to the many leads to greatness. If you want to be great, you simply have to serve a lot of people. And there are going to be a lot of moments where it's very difficult carrying that cross. And you have to continue to press forward and get around people who genuinely believe in you. Genuinely believe in you, because sometimes it's that little pep talk. Sometimes it's like, you know, I'll have my kids validate me, and these are little kids. And sometimes that validation, like, it's interesting. There was a recent time, probably about a year ago, I had one of my really good friends that I do life with, my buddy Jay. You know, I had a lot of people come up to me and were just like, man, that was an incredible speech. Like, it was so amazing, and, you know, like, great job. And, you know, I appreciate those compliments. I appreciate that validation. But when I heard it from my boy, like the person that does life with me and my kids, and I do life with him and his kids, that I can't tell you, like, the level of validation that I felt in that moment as a man. Yeah, I'm a grown ass man. And there was just something about that that hit me different. And I didn't care. And usually it happens when my best friends validate me. And you can be that best friend. You be that best friend to validate your best friends and let them know, like you're doing great. You're doing a great job. You're doing amazing. Speak life into people. Speak life, because you never know what people are going through. There are a lot of people that suffer in silence. There are a lot of people living lives of quiet desperation. And all they need is just that pick-me-upper. And that pick-me-upper may very well just look like, you know, you got this. You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job. You look amazing, right? Like, I love what you did here. You know, we have to build and normalize this culture of just lifting people up and speaking life into people, right? And you know what's so crazy? The interesting thing about that is, many times what reciprocates back to you is the feeling of, you know, just it's like you complimenting someone and putting a smile on their face. Many times it makes you feel good, helping someone feel good, right? It's the oxytocin that flows through you when you're pouring into people. So there's a lot of value in just speaking life into people. We oftentimes get caught up in gossip and talking about other people, and I'm guilty of it from time to time. I know it's something that I had to work on. Like, Josh, if you're going to speak about anyone, speak good things. Speak good about people behind their backs. Be the person that genuinely speaks good about people behind their backs. I can tell you this right now, it'll change your life. If you're someone that, like, your family and friends, they never hear you gossiping or speaking bad about people, like, it's always the opposite, you'll end up changing them. They'll actually feel uncomfortable speaking really badly about people, right? It's like the sister-in-law that is in the room, and now the sister-in-law leaves and the whole family is like talking smack. But what if you were that person that's like, yeah, you know, I get that, but she's also been having a very difficult time. You know, she's been going through a lot. And you know what? No matter what her shortcomings are, she's an incredible mom. She's an incredible mom. And, you know, she's just doing her best with what she's dealing with. Like, imagine what that'll do to the energy of the room. Like, I mean, people will feel like crap after talking about someone for, you know, just endlessly talking. Many times I'll just leave because it's low vibrational. Like, why would you even want to surround yourself around low vibrational people that are just talking about other people? And what do you think is happening when you leave? Chances are they're probably also talking about you. So be the person that 100% speaks life into people and about people. Okay, so really, really great tips there. Next up, we have faster learning curve. So as I mentioned earlier, you collapse time frame. So you learn from others, and it's experience instead of trial and error, as I mentioned. So you want to be able to speed up the process. Why would you prolong it? And this is why I always recommend investing in yourself, because people who pay more attention. If you pay more, you will pay more attention. Why is that? Going back to the pain motivation. Think about it. If you spend all this money on this program or coaching or masterminds or seminars or whatever it is, you're going to be far more likely to actually pay attention and value it. So that's the importance of paying for your education. Okay. Next, we have personal growth. Mentorship and coaching challenge you to become a better version of yourself, not just in business, but in mindset, communication, and discipline. Okay. Now, I remember early on, one of my hacks, if you will, in terms of being successful was actually living like my future self. So I would think to myself, okay, Josh, if I was 10 years out, and let's just say I accomplished everything that I wanted to accomplish. So think about you right now, And think about you 10 years from now, after you've already accomplished everything that you have as a dream at the moment. Think about what your swagger would be. How would you move? How would you talk? How would you walk? Right? How would you genuinely act around people? Would you probably have a little bit more pep in your step? Would you talk with a little bit more confidence? Will you walk up into a building like you own the damn place? You probably would move different. You probably would dress different. You probably would entertain and also disregard certain environments that are conducive to your success. So you're probably not going to be hanging out with people that aren't in alignment with where you want to go, even your relationships, because you understand birds of a feather flock together. Misery loves company. Law of association states that if you're hanging around 9 broke people, you're bound to be number 10. It's just the way it works. So when it comes to, let's just say, living intentionally and actually aligning yourself with that future self, because success is not something you attract. Success is not something you obtain. Success is something you attract by becoming the person you ultimately need to become. So that's the way it works. It's not like you just get to an arrival point. No, you start to change. And as a result, you attract a lot of things that are in alignment with the way that you see yourself, in alignment with your value in the marketplace. Okay, so that's a big, big part of it. Okay, and even when it comes to your personal brand, I remember I always share this on the Breakfast Club. My mentor, I had a billionaire mentor back in the day that would always say this. He'd say, you are who you say you are until you prove otherwise. You are who you say you are until you prove otherwise. And that has always resonated for me, because again, if you say you're someone and you commit to being that someone, you are that person until you prove otherwise. That's the beauty behind it. I don't give a damn if you have to move to a new city. Move to a new city if you have to. Recreate yourself if you have to. Go on your social media, archive whatever needs to archive. Start fresh and recreate yourself, because that's what life is all about. It's going to be a never-ending series of recreating yourself. How many of us are in a season where we just genuinely need to recreate ourselves? We need to turn a new leaf. Okay, and that's why your brand is so important. Your brand is so important because, again, it is a portable asset, and you take you wherever you go. It's not necessarily value in the marketplace, it's perceived value in the marketplace. Think about this. How many people who are in Hollywood, whether they're an actor or a singer, how many of them actually are not the greatest actors or singers, but they still are highly successful? Why is that? Because of the perceived value in the marketplace. There are a lot of people that are far more talented, but why aren't they at the highest levels? Oftentimes, you'll find that it's the perceived value. It's marketing, right? So that's the biggest thing. And always remember that it's important for you to see your own value. If you want other people to see your own value, you have to see your own value. And you reinforce your belief in yourself by identifying all of the things that you feel make you valuable. So if you had to write out, if you guys don't mind, drop a comment. I would love for you to, we'll do some class participation here. Drop a comment on what makes you valuable. Think about it. What makes you valuable as a person? Is it your honesty or your integrity? Is it your character that makes you value? Is it your beauty that makes you valuable? Is it your intellectual property that makes you valuable? What genuinely makes you valuable? Is it your loyalty? Is it your competence? Is it your punctuality? What makes you valuable? And for all of us, it's something different. But it is important to identify all of the things that make you valuable, because this is what reinforces your self-worth. It reinforces your self-worth. Maybe your discipline is what makes you valuable. Maybe it's your authenticity that makes you valuable. I always say that discipline and authenticity are the highest expressions of self-love. Because think about it. When it comes to discipline, by you being disciplined, you are making sacrifices for the greater good of your well-being. So discipline is a very, very high expression of self-love. When you think about authenticity, authenticity is saying, I'm enough. I'm enough. So I should be sharing my authentic self to the world. And that's why it's also another form of self-love. Because you have discipline saying on one side, well, I'm going to do what's best for me. I'm going to do this today and I'm going to sacrifice today, even though it's uncomfortable, but I know that my future self would thank me for it. But authenticity is also saying that, you know what, I'm going to be unapologetically who I am and embrace and accept all aspects of me, my flaws, what you know, just everything. And this is one of the things that I've had to learn on this journey has been authenticity more than anything. Like being okay. Sometimes I got the kids running around and I'm over here like, go upstairs, right? Because they're just doing the most. And it's even like when my wife and I, we have family and friends over, we don't mind getting into like heated, I don't even want to say argument. My wife and I aren't like yellers per se, but we get into these heated discussions and we'll have it right in front of our kids. We'll have it right in front of our family and friends. We don't care. We don't hold back, because the last thing we want is for people to have this illusion like we're all perfect. We don't want to even set that expectation on our kids. We don't want our kids going into marriage looking at like, oh, mommy and daddy had it all together, but really what was happening was we were just going at it in the bedroom, right? And yelling at each other in the bed. We don't want that. No, we're gonna show our kids that, you know what, sometimes it gets a little tense, but we forgive right away. And we'll go from having that heated conversation to now like we get over it and we move on and we forgive each other. And forgiveness, authenticity, discipline, these are the highest expressions of self-love. Okay. And I see some of you guys putting spirited discussions. Absolutely. My personality. Yes, your personality could very well be your gift, right? Your service to others. That can be your value, your compassion, authenticity. I love that. I love that. Really, really good. Next, we have how to find the right mentor or coach. This is super important. How to find the right mentor or coach. First and foremost, look for someone who has done what you want to do or has the results you admire. I always say that many people don't get ahead in life because they're simply taking advice from people that they wouldn't be willing to trade places with. Stop taking advice from people you will not be willing to trade places with. Why in the world are you taking marriage advice from the single person? Why in the world are you taking fitness advice from the out of shape person? Go to people who genuinely have what it is that you want and get advice from them. Seek their mentorship, their guidance, their wisdom. Okay. And that's what I did. And understand that there are different mentors for different things. Don't go to a mentor expecting the perfect individual. No, when you go to mentors, when you go to coaches, understand that every mentor, every coach, every person of greatness has a dark side. Every person of greatness has flaws. So you don't want to disregard the value of that mentor simply because they fall short in other areas of their life. You understand? So prime example, you may resonate with someone because they have a lot of business success. However, they may not be the best at their personal relationships, but they're a beast, right? Like Elon Musk, for example. Elon Musk has a lot of baby mamas, right? Like over 10 kids, a lot of baby mamas. You're probably not going to go to your boy Elon for marriage advice, but you may very well go to him if you want to learn how to build an innovative billion-dollar company. You understand? So that's something that you have to remember, is that when you go to mentors, what exactly are you getting mentored on? So you may go to someone for marriage advice, but maybe they don't have the best health, right? They got a big old pot belly, but they're an amazing husband or wife. And you can go to them for marriage advice because they've been married for over 40 years. And that's okay. But never expect like the perfect human. It just doesn't exist. We all have something that we're dealing with. We all have our own flaws and shortcomings, and including myself. Like, for example, like as much as I love my life and I get to do all of these things. I don't know if everybody would want this life. I don't get to just chill out and have the barbecues on the weekend and watch the football games and drink beer and all of that and play video games. Like I don't have that life. Sometimes I'd love to do those things, but it's like the life of an entrepreneur. Unfortunately, it's I don't want to say unfortunately, but it does require a lot of sacrifice. And this life isn't for everyone. So that's why it is important to really do some soul searching and identify, well, what's best for you? What's right for you? That's where authenticity comes into play. Next, we have make sure values and communication style align, because that mentor that you're going after, sometimes they say the best thing that can happen in your life is you meet your mentor, and the worst thing that can happen in your life is you learn about your mentor. Like you may meet the mentor and it's life-changing, right? But then you actually see their soft underbelly, and you see them for their flaws, and you see them for their shortcomings. And you're like, whoa, I didn't realize all of this. So just know that when it comes to mentorship, right, there may be different values. There may be different communication styles. Someone may start off as a mentor and then they kind of lose your respect along the way because you find out that they're actually a public hero and a private zero. That happens from time to time. You'll meet some people, like it may even be your favorite celebrity, and then you meet them in person like, oh man, that person was an asshole, right? Like I would never want to hang out with that person. So that's something that you definitely have to take into account. Now, when it comes to coaching, you may need that coach that is a savage and that's going to pick you up with their words. And they may not be the greatest human being, but they're a phenomenal coach. But then you go to a mentor, and that mentor is going to be providing wisdom, and you need to ensure that the values and the communication align. So you just have to identify what exactly it is that you're looking for. Next is be willing to invest time, money, and humility. Time, money, and humility. You have to humble yourself, because people with the wisdom, they want to provide their wisdom to people who are coachable and teachable. Not to someone who's arrogant. Don't be the person where, oh, I know that. That's one of the worst things that you could possibly ever say to someone who you're going to for mentorship or coaching. Oh, I already know that, right? Just humble yourself and be open and receptive, okay? And just know that, again, it's going to require time. It's going to require money. That's just what it is. I don't know anyone who coaches at the level that I coach who hasn't invested. They're like no one, zero. So if you think that you're going to be able to just coast your way and figure it out on your own, I'm telling you, you're going to be in for a rude awakening, and you're going to waste a lot of time. You have to be the person that is just, again, modeling success, and the people who are at the highest levels invest constantly. It's just never ending improvement. Okay. Next, remember, not all advice is good advice. Choose wisely. Not all advice is good advice. Sometimes what ends up happening is you get advice, and honestly, it's like that advice could actually end up sabotaging you. You have to be, you can't just take a mentor. What happens when we look at someone's success, we oftentimes put them on a pedestal. And just know that the way the human brain works is we oftentimes seek authority figures to validate something, and that reinforces our belief in that thing, right? So, for example, when companies advertise, who do they go to market their products and services? They're going to authority figures. They'll get someone with a lab coat, or you'll see, oh, doctor recommended, or you'll see celebrities endorsing these specific products or services because people look up to them. They're sort of like authority figures in a sense. And just because they recommend something doesn't necessarily make it good for you. What if they're even being paid to just share these things, and they're actually not the best thing for you? It happens all the time. So be very mindful at who you seek counsel from. Be very mindful at who you're going to for counsel. Okay. Next, as we bring this plane in for a landing, I'm going to give you guys a call to action. Okay. My call to action, first and foremost, is make mentorship and coaching a priority in your life. It's interesting because now I'm learning the world of advertising, right? Marketing evolves. So I've always done traditional marketing, but I've never really gone deep into the world of advertising and social media advertising specifically. And it's such a foreign world to me. And now I'm like investing a lot of time, money, energy into seeking knowledge in this specific area, right? So again, the mentorship, the coaching, understanding that if I want to shorten the learning curve, I'm going to have to invest. Okay, it's like when you go to university. If you're going to college, what college is really doing is it's compressing an entire career in 4 years of knowledge. Okay, so again, make mentorship and coaching a priority. Also, you want to write down one area of your life or your business where you feel stuck. So think about where you're stuck. Maybe you're stuck with your finances and you simply just have been struggling with your finances for a lot of years. There's always more month at the end of the money. You've been living hand to mouth for a very long time, check to check. Well, when was the last time you sought out mentorship from someone who does well financially, someone who is really good at their money? When was the last time you sought counsel? I know for me, when I was seeking wealth advice, I went to a mentor of mine that was worth over $60 million. I went directly to him. He was a doctor, and a doctor who became an entrepreneur and built a significant amount of wealth. And that's who I went to for my advice on building wealth. I didn't go to the broke brother-in-law, right? Seeking advice on the next crypto deal or whatever, right? So that's super, super important. Is where do you feel stuck? Identify that, whether it's in your life or your business. And lastly, ask yourself, who could guide me in this area? Who can guide me in this area? And if you don't know of anyone, book a session with me. Like, DM me the word session. I'll be more than happy to send you my Calendly link. Again, if you need advice, so for those of you who've been wanting to get into this space of being paid for your mind, your expertise, your knowledge, and be able to monetize that, to be able to get paid for your thoughts, write me the word coach and I'll send you that masterclass this week. So I'm really excited for you guys. I know you're going to get a lot of value. Maybe you're just curious and you just are intrigued with this whole thing and you're just simply want information. I'd be more than happy to send it over to you. Okay. And as we wrap up, I'm going to end with this quote. If you are looking for, guidance, that's not a quote, but basically, if you're out there and you're looking for guidance, listen, here's the thing. You have to remember, mentorship isn't given, it is simply earned, right? And go out there and put in the work necessary. If you're a videographer or you're a photographer, things like that, maybe you can offer to do a project for someone for free. Maybe you can even offer to intern for someone for free. But there's a lot of things that you can do, and it's super, super important to just go out there and ensure that you're adding value first. You're not just looking for a handout. And I'll say this, I'll close out with this. Sometimes you don't even need a seat at the table. Sometimes you just need to build your own table. And that's one thing that I've had to learn. Like, sometimes it's not a situation where you just earn a seat at the table. Sometimes it's really you just building your own table, and be okay with that part of your journey. Maybe you're in a season where you haven't earned your seat at the table just quite yet, but you're building your table. That's what it's about more than anything. So as we wrap up, I just want to recap everything that we shared. So remember why mentorship and coaching matters, right? It's a shortcut to success. It matters because of perspective and clarity, accountability, and expanded networks. Also, remember the difference between mentorship and coaching, right? Mentorship is more informal. A mentor shares wisdom and life experiences over time. Coaching is more structured and focused on specific outcomes with accountability and measurable goals. And the hidden benefits are increased confidence, faster learning curve, and personal growth. Okay, so I hope you guys got value. If you got value, drop a like, comment, share, tag, subscribe, all of that good stuff. It most certainly helps. Drop a comment. Let us know, what was your biggest takeaway for this Breakfast Club session? And thank you so much for allowing me to serve you for so many years. I know many of you guys have been with us since the very beginning, about a decade ago. And I appreciate you guys for still being here on this Breakfast Club. Appreciate you guys. Love you. Breakfast is served. God bless. And I'll be seeing you next week. Take care.